2018 was a great year for video games. It was filled with some of the best games ever made, really. Masterpieces such as God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2 stole all of the headlines, and rightfully so. But you never hear anybody talking about Shadow of the Tomb Raider as a game they remember fondly from this period. I mean, if you go on Google and search 2018 video games, look how far you need to scroll before you get to Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is absurd. For whatever reason, I recently had the urge to replay Shadow of the Tomb Raider, so I did, and I had a blast. The game is still fun 3 years later. So why does nobody else seem to remember how good this game is? With that in mind, join me as we explore why has Shadow of the Tomb Raider been forgotten. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was a day one pickup for me back in 2018. 2013's reboot and 2015's sequel Rise of the Tomb Raider were fantastic games that propelled Lara Croft back into the limelight. So why wouldn't I want to see how this trilogy was going to end? I played the absolute shit out of it. I did everything. I completed every challenge tomb, did every side quest in Paititi, and unlocked everything there was to unlock. It never grew tiring. On my recent replay though, I did minimal side content because I've done all that before. I just wanted to re-experience the game. This opened my eyes to just how short the game is. I spent, around, 25 to 30 hours the first time around, but making a beeline for the finish, with a couple side missions here and there, I beat the game in 8 hours. Maybe this is why people forgot about the game. 8 hours is not a long time for a AAA video game. So maybe it just slipped the minds of those people that did play it. But even then, not many did. Shadow of the Tomb Raider sold around 4 million copies in 2018. For reference, 2018's God of War sold 3 million copies in its first 3 days. It's not like Tomb Raider is some niche franchise either. The Tomb Raider series has been synonymous with the medium of video games for, 20 plus years now. So just what is it that led to this game being lost in time? I'm going to make a statement that may piss off hardcore Tomb Raider fans, but before that, I just want to ask you to bear with me because I'm a massive Tomb Raider fan myself. I've played all of the games. I'm one of you guys. I'm just trying to work out why this game's been forgotten. The problem with Shadow of the Tomb Raider is that it doesn't do anything particularly memorable. Sure, I remembered the areas, I remembered some of the puzzles, like that moving platform one prior to finding Paititi, that was pretty cool, and there was that insanely badass moment in the second half where Lara just becomes cold-blooded. Was really cool, but that's probably one of the only memorable moments there is. The set pieces are few and far between. Even then, they aren't particularly outlandish in comparison to Uncharted, for example. Like the chase sequences, Lara runs so slowly, it looks silly because you're thinking, well, these people chasing her could easily shoot her or catch up to her because she's jogging. But yeah, that's it. The flooded set pieces were much better in the sections where it's flooding. They were much stronger than the chase sequences, but still not that memorable. I mean, I did remember them, but you know what I mean. The characters are, for the most part, pretty dull. I remembered Lara and Jonah, obviously, and I remembered Dominguez because he's the bad guy. I didn't know the names of characters such as Uranatu, which has definitely been pronounced wrong, and her kid, Etsley, I believe it is, and I'd completely forgotten that Rourke even existed. There are no memorable character traits in any of them that let them stick out in your mind. Which brings us beautifully onto the story. It's a serviceable story, but serviceable isn't really gonna cut it. They wanted to explore a sort of darker side to Lara's character here, which we saw in the earlier clip. I mean, Jesus, I'm scared watching it. But they didn't really go into this theme as deep as they probably should have. It should have been really easy because Lara has a lot of trauma. She has been through some shit. It shouldn't have been difficult to explore a darker side of her. But they didn't execute this well enough. A 15-minute section where she turns into Rambo isn't enough. Immediately after that part finishes, you're back to doing puzzles in a tomb with Jonah. Where's the aftermath of this? Where's the guilt, the self-reflection? It's just forgotten. Which brings me on to another thing. I want to quickly talk about the voice acting, because for the most part it's brilliant. Camilla Luddington was fantastic as Lara. Just look at this clip near the start of the game.
We're gonna help these people get to safety, and then we'll go after the box.
No one is safe! Not if he gets the box first! I have to go! I'm the only one!
You're the only one that can what? You don't know that you caused all this, Lara! Not everything is about you! These people need us here. We can do good now!
On its own, living in a vacuum, as an isolated scene, this is goosebumps stuff. But the problem is that this scene wasn't particularly earned from a writing standpoint. This is clearly supposed to be some sort of climax, where something that's been bubbling under the surface comes out. But not really, this just happens about an hour in, somewhat randomly. It's awkward when you consider everything that's happened before it. The following scene in their helicopter with Lara and Jonah is the only time where it's sort of remembered by any of the characters or acknowledged at all. It doesn't crop up again. This selfish side to Lara's character. It sounds like this should have been a core motif throughout the whole game, but it's not. There hadn't been enough examples of Lara being selfish or anything to lead up to this. Of course there was the fact that she stole the dagger, but that was pretty much it really. Emotional scenes like this carry so much more weight when you've had to put the hard yards in to earn them. I am sorry to keep making this comparison because it's not particularly fair, but it is a 2018 game, that's why. But the scenes where Atreus acts out and gets drunk on his power in God of War, it's memorable because it's earned. We've seen hours upon hours of Kratos being strict and harsh on him. You can see the problems that Atreus has got and the things he wants to say but doesn't have the confidence to do so, so that seeking some form of expression sticks out. Shadow of the Tomb Raider does this often, where they try some deep emotional sequence that falls flat because the foundations weren't there to begin with. The story isn't bad though, I do want to make that clear. It's good enough to keep you interested in playing the game. The ending is cool enough, if a little anticlimactic. You may disagree, but to me it was a satisfying end to 3 games worth of build up to see how Lara's journey comes to a close. What about the gameplay? It's good, solid gameplay, but it's a bit conventional. Conventional doesn't stick out as much, especially when the game isn't too strong narratively or long in length. Of course it's long in length, what else is it going to... Anyway, it's a lot of climbing and running through forests and caves. A nice blend of puzzles thrown in that are challenging enough to make you think about you know, that you're doing something, but not hard enough to make you frustrated. There's only so much mileage you can get out of parkour gameplay. It really shouldn't be the main focus of your game. But here it is, when really the combat or stealth should have been, because my lord, it's amazing. My biggest complaint about the game back in 2018 was how little combat there was, because it's really fun. Sneaking around in the bushes, covering yourself in mud, hiding in muddy walls, chain assassinations, tying enemies to trees, hitting them with fear arrows. This is the bread and butter. This should have been the main focus of the game. You should have never gone over an hour without one of these sequences, and even that is at a push. Like, it shouldn't be more than an hour at most. But sometimes they're 2 or sometimes maybe 3 hours apart, potentially more if you're doing side content. That's a major missed opportunity. Shadow of the Tomb Raider didn't put their best foot forward, as much as they should, and the game suffered as a result. The direct open combat was fun in my opinion. It reminded me a little bit of The Last of Us 2's combat in terms of the desperation you feel when you're scrambling from cover to cover, which is ironic as the Tomb Raider series has often seen comparisons to Naughty Dog's other franchise, Uncharted. Even though those games aren't really all that similar, it's a third-person shooter with parkour where you find treasure. That's all of the similarities really. It's not even cover based here. You can hide behind cover but you don't press a button to get behind it. Anywho, I liked it. I had the most fun with the game when I was in direct combat or in the stealth sections. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was a really fun game that shot itself in the foot. In a year filled with heavyweights releasing at every turn, they didn't really do enough to avoid fading into the abyss. If it had released in a slower year, like maybe 2019 or even 2020, I feel it would have been a much more recognisable game, and it would have had a better reputation amongst gamers. But alas, it got forgotten in the midst of 2018's heavyweights. Brilliant stealth and combat mechanics were let down by a serviceable story, conventional parkour, and lacklustre set pieces. With the lack of memorable moments along the way, that is why Shadow of the Tomb Raider has been forgotten. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. I want to apologise if this video came off somewhat negative. If you're a subscriber, you know I don't do that a lot. I don't like talking about games in a bad way because I love this medium and I like to celebrate what games do well. And I really did like this game. If you follow me on Twitter, which you should, just search my name, I'm sure it'll come up, then, you know, you'll see that I was having a lot of fun with the game. I was making tweets about it, sharing screenshots and whatnot. I was having a blast. It's a great game. But, yeah, this is just what I do. I need to say things how they are. The game didn't do enough to be memorable. But, yeah, for now, that's all from me. If you enjoyed the video, then please consider leaving a like, as it would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to see more content from me, then make sure to subscribe, because I upload videos just like this one every single Friday. Have a nice day, and goodbye.